would like to, instead of going through reviewing the whole situation, I would like to take a kind of a little bit challenging position and try to warn against some misinterpretations of the situation in the Middle East. The first thing, of course, is the quick collapse of the Syrian government, which has started a whole campaign internationally, I would say, by the forces of imperialism and Israel to present this as a revolution in Syria, blame it on Assad dictatorship, the fact that the argument that he had become a neoliberal, tried to establish relations with Qatar and to collect with them, or even being an inept or incompetent dictatorship in the country because of all the poverty and everything that had existed. What these people who claim these positions do not consider is the fact that Syria has been under U.S. sanctions since the Iranian Revolution. Syria, by taking sides with Iran from 1979, kind of got the wrath of Arab countries, Arab states, and at the same time became target of vicious sanctions by the United States for many years, decades. On top of it, you had this 10-year internal war conflict that was going on, and it was depleting all of the energies of the state. And finally, you had this stealing, open stealing, the capturing of the oil fields, the stealing of the resources of the country by the United States military, choking the whole economy of the country. So when you bring this whole package together, the question becomes, how much choice or options did Assad have for running the country? So one thing that we should avoid, especially as international supporters of the movement toward the multipolar world, resistance against imperialism, we should not allow the Western media, Western propaganda to direct us toward blaming the victim of imperialism than imperialism itself, and Zionism. So this is the first thing I would like to take as a challenge, that let us not fall in this trap of taking it and blaming it on Assad as if he was the one responsible for all the problems in Syria. We should not forget that part of the problems is not just limited to Syria. Many of the resisting countries are facing the same thing. If you can blame the blackouts in Cuba on Cuban government, you can blame Assad government for the problems there. Same with Venezuela, the same with Nicaragua. If you look at it on the whole, there's a global struggle going on, and Syria is only one part of it. And they have been ready, and Assad has been ready to pay the price for it. And he kept going until I'll get to that. So it's neither a revolution nor a result of dictatorship, lack of democracy, or one thing that a lot of people emphasize, which I warn them against, is that, don't forget Assad's government was a secular government. Well, it was not ideologically necessarily secular. It was a diverse society that required some kind of secularism to maintain its cohesion. That is different from ideological secularism that the West is trying to impose on the Middle East. And you have to be careful about that. The second thing I would like to bring in as a challenge is the whole idea that this was a strategic defeat. I personally don't agree that this was a strategic defeat for Hezbollah or for axis of resistance or Iran. The strategic objective, in line with the movement to a global transition to a multipolar world, was a long-term war of attrition, not a direct confrontation, military confrontation. That was not the objective. And that was not the strategy of Iran, nor the axis of resistance. If you look at the global process, the move toward a multipolar world has so many pieces in the puzzle that have to be put in place one by one through time, from economic side, from diplomatic side, from political side, from international agreements and pacts within countries, intercontinental relationships. These all have to happen for this process to be successful. And one of the main conditions for the progress or advancement of this process is to maintain some degree of tranquility and peace in the world. The opposite is for the imperialist camp. They cannot peacefully compete with this process and block it, as we have seen it. The only way they can block this process is to militarize the situation, to start wars, to move the whole confrontation to a military form of confrontation. That's when they're the strongest. They have nothing else. And the global movement, including China, Iran, and Russia, have been following this strategy from the beginning. I remember Ayatollah Khamenei several times mentioned that this is a long-term war of attrition. That we should bring Israel, when he said that, bring Israel to its knees economically. And you can see this whole process has started to do this, and has already affected Israel that way. And that was the process. So what happened is that people of Palestine had every right to decide when to want to rise up. And they did it. And they made tremendous victories, or achieved tremendous victories in this process. In the whole world, no longer Israel a victim is presented as a victim. No longer US is a called democracy for human rights element. The whole global public opinion has become aware of this. The world is rising against this whole imperialist unipolar war, hegemonical war. So they have had positive impacts, but at the same time, inevitably, this put the axis of resistance on a military confrontation path, which was not where we are strongest. At this time, may not be the case tomorrow, but at this time it wasn't. And if you look at the whole action-reaction between Iran, Israel, and axis of resistance, you will see that Iran hesitated in moving the whole confrontation to an all-out war in the Middle East, and Israel was trying to push it that way. And the reason I'm saying this is because we have to look at this process as one front in the whole global movement, and not isolate it as if we have lost the whole battle. This is not the case. As Brother Ali also mentioned that the struggle continues. We have lost one front, and that is a military loss, not a social, not a political, not a revolutionary loss. I mean, the strategy of the axis of resistance was to free West Asia and the Middle East from the hegemonic control of US and Israel. That was the strategy. It is still the strategy. Now, but what new tactics and whatnot is a different story. The aim was not to win it militarily. There was no way you could do it at this stage. 10 years from now, 5 years from now, we may be able to do it. But not now. So, this was something that the axis of resistance had to respond to. It wasn't a conscious strategic decision to get engaged in a direct military confrontation. But they had to defend Palestine, they had to defend Lebanon, they had to defend everybody, now that the process had started. they didn't control, they could not control the world events. Things happen. The whole World War I started with the assassination of one prince. You cannot stop the process once it's triggered. So that's the issue. So the question is, for now, should we accept a strategic defeat? If we accept that, what would be our option? What is the new strategy that we could have? Stop resisting? That cannot be an option. The question is, and I think, and I close with this, that putting this whole thing in the context of the global process, we have to understand that this I would call it conscious retreat. I wouldn't call it it was a huge military defeat, no question about it. I am not trying to diminish that. But at the same time, it was a conscious decision by the main players of the resistance to make a conscious retreat, to keep the door open for non-military means of rebellion. Put it on the political, diplomatic, social agenda. A lot of people think that the people of Syria are happy about this. I don't think so. I have been involved with the Syrian movement for a long time. I know where people stand, and the kind of baffled silence is not a sign that they agree to it. As Brother Ali mentioned, huge demonstrations in Syria right now. People are coming back to understand what the situation is and respond to it. And also don't forget that for 15 years, Afghanistan was under the thumb of the United States. Iraq was invaded by the United States. Is Iraq and Afghanistan under the thumb of the United States today? I don't think so. I don't think Syrian fate will be different. There are so many divisions on top of constitutors, US, Israel, NATO, Turkey, where different objectives with regard to Kurdish issue only they could split several ways. Look at the forces that took over Damascus. 10, 15 different organizations of different religious orientation, different background, different ties to different countries. None of them will last. Ultimately, the resistance will resurface. And we will be victorious in that. I see the sooner or later. So, let's not be disillusioned or disappointed that we do this. It's just a new phase in the story. It's time to slow now. Thank you.
I'm Michael Hudson. I'm appearing here for the International Manifesto Group. If you like this video and ones like it, please subscribe. For more information, go to the address on the screen.